Hello and welcome. If you've got a sewing machine that's not driving or not turning, there's a few things you can look for. And today we're going to be using this beautiful Bernina Record 730. So you can hear the motor turning. So you know you've got power. There's power being delivered to the motor, and I'm putting my foot down and you can hear it doing its thing. But the hand wheel's not turning, although sometimes it does. Maybe if we give it a little helping hand, you can see that sometimes it does turn. But when you turn the machine by hand, you'll also notice that the machine's not turning over, nothing's driving. So there can be several problems going on here. One is that the machine may be seized and just needs a good oil and freeing up, or the little clutch on the end here could be disengaged, and that is the case here. So if I tighten this clutch up here, tight like that, so I'm holding on the hand wheel and just tightening that in clockwise direction, and put our foot down, still nothing there, but at least now that this clutch is engaged, when we turn the machine we can see that it's now turning over, and now we can also feel that the machine's turning reasonably freely, so it's not seized up or anything like that. If you engage the clutch and you find that this hand wheel is hard to turn, that could just be because the machine's seizing up and needs oiling and freeing up. So now that we've got those two things sorted, we know the machine's not seizing, we've got the clutch engaged here, so we can see that that's turning the main shaft there, but we still have nothing. And the reason for that is because the drive belts behind here are too loose. And there's, on this particular model, there's two belts, and this is very similar to the later models, the 800 series. Most of the 700 series are like this as well. So they have this two drive belt type system. So if we just take a look in behind the cover here, might pay to disconnect the power when you're looking in here. Okay, remove that cover. So if we have a look here, in behind here we've got the motor sits in behind here. There's a drive pulley on the motor, and this belt here comes around from the motor around this idler pulley, and then we've also got this other belt here which comes around another smaller pulley on the back of this idler pulley, so that they're actually connected, these two, this large pulley and there's a small one on the back that's also connected here, and that drives this belt here and behind here, and that belt drives the hand wheel. So in behind the hand wheel there's a pulley that the belt runs on, and you can see here that that belt's just way too loose. That one's actually quite tight, but this one's too loose. So what's happening here is the motor is spinning, so you can see it's trying to drive there, and this belt's so loose that the motor pulley is just spinning. So what we need to do is we need to tighten this belt here up, and that's quite easy to do. So you'll see down here there's an Allen key screw there, machine screw, and if we get a 4mm Allen key, we just loosen this bolt here, loosen that, and you may have seen the pulley pull into position there, and that's being pulled in by the spring here. That spring there is the tensioner spring. There's a spring tensioner adjustment there as well, So if you have this lever here over to the right hand side, to the rear of the machine, it looks like it's putting less pressure on this spring here. If you have it over this side, it's stretching it slightly and putting more pressure on there. I would probably just start with that in its central position there. So you can see when I push this here, the whole idler mechanism is moving here. So that can move up. You know, that's floating around there at the moment. So if we move the pulley up, it's going to loosen this belt here. And if we move it down, it's going to tighten this belt here. If we move it to this pulley to the left, it's going to tighten this belt. And to the right, it's going to loosen this belt. So it's a matter of really just releasing this here to allow the spring to pull the idler into the correct position. And then you can just go ahead and nip that screw there up, that bolt. Just tighten that up. So we can see now that it's actually driving the machine as it should. And a good test to see if you've got the belt tension right is to actually hold back on the hand wheel. So try and stop it from turning. You don't want to stop it for too long while you've got power going to the motor. You could wear a flat spot in the belt. If I give the motor a quick burst of full power, the motor belt is still spinning on the spot, but that's only because I'm giving it full power. As I say, you don't want to do that for long at all. And it's a matter of just finding a balance between having these belts too loose and too tight. You can have them too tight, and what that can do is it can strain the bearings in the motor, strain these bearings here, strain the main bearings and things like that. So you want to find a balance between having them too tight and too loose. So too tight will strain the bearings, too loose will cause slippage. And we've got still a little bit of slippage on that motor pulley there, but it's taken quite a bit to make it slip, so I think under normal sewing conditions that's probably going to be okay. So I'm just holding back there, still taking quite a bit of force to stop this wheel from turning. So maybe if you were sewing something really thick and the machine was having trouble punching the needle through the fabric, well then it might stall a little bit in that position. And if you're doing a lot of that sort of work, well then maybe you might want to tighten this up a little bit. And if you wanted to put a little bit more pressure on this here, you can loosen the bolt like that and just manually pull a little bit more tension than what the spring provides. You can just put a little bit of tension on there and tighten the bolt there, and just check that it's not too tight. That's not too bad. You get a bit of a feel for it, and then if we try and hold back, you can hear the motor straining there now, so it's actually tight enough to stop the slippage unless the motor's under full power, and when it is spinning on the spot it's straining a little bit. So that's about the right sort of belt tension there. I've got my foot flat there and I'm holding here, and it's taking a lot of force. I mean, my fingers are getting hot doing that. So that's driving nicely there, and once you've got your tensions, you're happy with your belt tensions, you can go ahead and just make sure that bolt there, securing bolt's tight, and then put your cover back on. So I hope you found that helpful, and thank you very much for watching.